Hello there, welcome to today's lesson. In our previous lesson, we looked at the systems that have been used in the past and the present, whereby we talked about the Egyptian, Roman, imperial, and the metric systems. Today's lesson, we are going to look at how we use and how we convert from one unit of length to another. So how do we go about the conversion of the units of lengths that we've looked at? So we need to look at how we convert the metric system. Remember that we said that the metric system is what is being used up to date. So that means that being the system that is applicable, the most common system that is applicable everywhere, then it means we need to know more about it and understand how we convert from one unit to another. Just to remind ourselves, when we are talking about the metric system, what units are we talking about? We are talking about the millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. So we need to know how do we convert from one unit to the other. So we talked about 10 millimeters. So 10 millimeters is equivalent to 1 centimeter, 100 centimeters is 1 meter, 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. So looking at these units, you need to identify which unit of measurement will be appropriate for the situation you are dealing with, so that you don't give a very small figure and at the same time you don't give a very large figure. So the units are just there to help us identify which one is the most appropriate in the situation that we are dealing with. So how do we go about the conversion? So let us just look at the conversion of the metric systems. So we'll deal with it using a question so that we are able to understand how we can convert from one unit to the other. So we have the question on the board that we are supposed to convert to the units that are given in brackets. So what we are dealing with are the units in brackets, that whatever we've been given, we convert it to the units that are indicated in the brackets. So the first question, we have 3 meters. It should be converted to centimeters. So 3 meters to centimeters. What we need to understand is that 100 centimeters make up 1 meter. 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. But I have 3 meters. So how many centimeters will be available will make up the 3 meters? So that means if we cross multiply, then we have 100 multiplied by 3 divided by 1. And 100 times 3 gives us 300 centimeters. So we were converting from meters to centimeters, and we discovered that 3 meters is equal to 300 centimeters. The next conversion we have is 25,600 centimeters converted to kilometers. So we need to understand that 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer, but at the same time we know that 100 centimeters is 1 meter. So we need to find out how many centimeters will make up 1 kilometer. So the number of centimeters that makes up 1 kilometer then means we have 100 times 1,000 to this gives us 100,000 centimeters. So it means 100,000 centimeter is equal to 1 kilometer. But what do I have? We have 25,600 centimeters. We need to find out how many kilometers are there. So this means that we will have to cross multiply so that we have 25 So we have 25,600 times 1 divided by 100,000. If we simplify, we have the 0 and 0 cancels out. Then we are left with 4 zeros. So this means we move our decimal place 4 steps to the left. So it gives us so that our answer will be 0.0256 kilometers. So that was the first question. I hope by now you can be in a position to convert from meters to centimeters, and at the same time from centimeters to kilometers and any other unit of conversion. As long as you know the connection between the units of conversion, then the rest of the conversion will be easier. Another question? Just some slight correction to be made. We have 100,000. 100,000. So that means that 0 and 0 cancels. The other 0 cancels. We are left with 1, 2, 3. So that means we have 1, 2, 3. So that gives us 0.256 kilometers. So that is a correction to be made. We have 0.256 kilometers as the required answer. 25,600 centimeters to kilometers gives us 0.256 kilometers. So we have another part of the question. We are still converting to the units given in brackets. So we have 5 centimeters. We are supposed to convert the 5 centimeters to millimeters. What is the relationship between the two? The first thing we need to note that 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. But we have 5 centimeters. So how many millimeters are there in 5 centimeters? So that means that we'll have 10 times 5 divided by 1. 10 times 5 gives us 50 millimeters. So 5 centimeters makes up 50 millimeters. Then next we have 3.5 kilometers. We convert 3.5 kilometers to meters. So that means 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So what about 3.5? What about 3.5 kilometers? So this means that we have 1,000 multiplied by 3.5 divided by 1. And that means that we have one decimal point that will mean that one of the 0 is cancelled out, so that we are left with 100 times 35, and 100 times 35 gives us 3,500 meters. 3,500 meters. So that means 3.5 kilometers is equal to 3,500 meters. So some more questions on the same. We have 3 meters. We convert the 3 meters to millimeters. So that means we need to know what is the relationship between the meters and millimeters. But the first thing that we know is that 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. And at the same time, we know that 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So 10 millimeters is 1 centimeter, and 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So what will be the relationship between millimeters and meters? That means that this one is 10 millimeters and this is 100 centimeters. So for me to come up with millimeters, the relationship between millimeters and centimeters, then it means I have 10 multiplied by 100, and 10 times 100 gives us 1,000. So that means that 1,000 millimeters is equal to 1 meter. After understanding that 1,000 millimeters is equal to 1 meter, then we can go ahead and convert whatever we have. So if 1,000 millimeters is 1 meter, but we have 3 meters, so what about the 3 meters that we have? So this means that we have 3 times 1,000 divided by 1, and 3 times 1,000 divided by 1 gives us 3,000 millimeters. So that 3 meters will be equal to 3,000 millimeters. The next question, or the next part we need to solve, we have 913,000 millimeters. We convert it to meters. Now we are having conversion from millimeters to meters. What we had here was meters to millimeters. So now we are working out in the other way, so that we are having the value in millimeters and we need to get its value in meters. Just the same procedure we are taking. We are saying that 10 millimeters So that means 1,000 millimeters is equal to 1 meter. So if 1,000 millimeters is 1 meter, we are having 913 millimeters. How many meters are there? So this means we have 913,000 times 1 divided by 1,000. And that means the zeros cancel out and we are left with 913 meters. So 913,000 millimeters is equal to 913 meters. So this question is just to help us understand how to convert from one unit to the other. So the second question that we are dealing with is so the first sentence we have to complete is that when converting from meters to centimeters, you multiply by. That means you need to find out which digit do you multiply with, or which number do you multiply with a unit that is in meters, so that you get the equivalent value in centimeters. And from our conversion, we know that 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So that means if I need to convert from meters to centimeters, then I will multiply the value I have by 100. So this means that the value that we are looking for is 100. The second question. So the next question is, when converting from meters to kilometers, what value are we supposed to divide with? So we are converting from meters to kilometers. What value are we supposed to divide with? So the issue is 1,000 meters will make up 1 kilometer. So that means if I have a value in meters and I need to get its equivalent value in kilometers, I will have to divide by 1,000. So the next question is, when converting from centimeters to meters, there is a word that we are supposed to fill in. What do we do by 100? Look at centimeters, then look at meters. Identify between a centimeter and a meter, which one is the larger unit. And we discover that centimeter is smaller than meters. Meters is a larger unit than the centimeter. So we are converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit. When you are converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit, then we divide by the value that is there, that is relating the two of them. And we know that 100 centimeters makes 1 meter. So this means when we are converting from centimeters to meters, we divide by 100. So the missing word is divide. We divide the value you have by 100 to get its equivalent value in meters. So the next question we have is that when converting from kilometers to meters, what do we do by 1,000? So there is a word that is missing to make our statement complete. So let us compare between kilometers and meters. Which one is larger and which one is smaller, the smaller unit? And we discover that a kilometer is a larger unit than the meter. So we are converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit. So when converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit, for you to get its equivalent value, then we multiply. So the missing word, when converting from kilometers to meters, we multiply by 1,000. So we multiply by 1,000. So the last two questions are just the conclusions of whatever we've been talking about. We've been talking about converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit and converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit. So this question is simply elaborating what we are talking about. So in conclusion, whatever we are simply saying is that when converting from a smaller to a smaller unit, you are converting from a large unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. And when converting from a smaller unit to a large unit, we divide. So for instance, you are converting from millimeters to centimeters, then it means you are converting to a larger unit, you will divide. When we are converting from kilometers to maybe centimeters, then it is from a large unit to a smaller unit, then we are going to multiply. So when converting from a large unit to a smaller unit, then we multiply. When converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit, we divide. So keeping that in mind, we need to understand what are our conversions. Just going through our conversions once again. We are talking about 10 millimeters being equal to 1 centimeter. 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. Then 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. This is 1,000. 1,000 meters is equal to 1 centimeter. So what do we discover? We are having millimeter being our smallest unit, followed by centimeter. Then we have meter, and we have kilometers. So we are saying that when you are moving from a smaller unit, you are converting from a smaller unit, either millimeters to centimeters, millimeters to meters, millimeters to kilometers, or centimeters to meters, centimeters to kilometers, or meters to kilometers. Then when we are converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit, we divide. Then when we are converting from a larger unit in that direction, from kilometers to meters, from either meters to centimeters, from kilometers to centimeters, from kilometers to millimeters, and so on. We are moving in the other direction, then we multiply. So from a smaller unit to a larger unit, we divide. From a larger unit to a smaller unit, we multiply. So how do we use these units of length? The units of length are just used in the operation of the operations that we have. We can either have a certain distance. Let's say I'm supposed to move from one distance to another. Maybe move from town A to town B, and move again from town B to town C. So if I need to get the total distance covered in my movement, then I'll add the distance between town A and B, then add the distance between town A and B to the distance between town B and C, so that I get the total distance that has been covered. So that means we need to understand, how do we add, how do we subtract the units of length? So the next question is requiring us to add the lengths that have been given to us. So we are required to add the lengths that are given, and we give the units. We give the result in the unit shown in the brackets. So that means our result should be in the units that we've been given in brackets. So the first question we have we are adding 2 centimeters and 5 millimeters, and our result should be given in centimeters. So 2 centimeters and 5 millimeters, we give our result in centimeters. So that means we need to convert our millimeters to centimeters. Convert first our millimeters to centimeters, because we cannot add 2 units that are different. We have to convert them first to the same units. Then after converting to the same units, we can go ahead and add. But since our question requires us to give the answer in centimeters, then it means whatever is not in centimeters in my calculation, in the 2 units that have been given, then I need to convert it to centimeters. So that means I'm converting the 5 millimeters to centimeters. So this means 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. What about 5 millimeters? This is 5 times 1 divided by 10, which gives us 0.5 centimeters. 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. What about 5 millimeters? So we cross multiply. We are going to have 5 times 1 divided by 10, which gives us 0.5 centimeters. We first started by saying that when you are converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit, we simply divide. So we can avoid going through all this and just take 5 divided by 10, so that we have 0.5 centimeters. Then after that, we add. So we have 2 centimeters plus 0.5 centimeters. 2 centimeters plus 0.5 centimeters. What does it give us? So we get 2.5 centimeters. So we have 6 kilometers and 200 meters. We are required to give our result in meters. So it means whatever is not in meters in my units that have been given, I need to convert it first to meters. And that means we have to convert 6 kilometers to meters. One thing we need to keep in mind, that 6 kilometers, a kilometer is a larger unit than a meter. So we are converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit. So when converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we multiply by the value. And we know that 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So what does it mean? If I need to convert 6 kilometers to meters, then I'll multiply by 1,000. So that means I have 6 multiplied by 1,000 to give us 6,000 meters. Then we go ahead and add. We have 6,000 plus 200 meters, so that we will obtain 6,200 meters. Remember, we are adding, so adding means we total up whatever we have. So this means 6,000 plus 200 gives us 6,200 meters. So we are adding 7 meters and 30 centimeters. Our result is needed in centimeters. So that means I convert the 7 meters to centimeters. So meter and centimeter, we multiply by 100. So that means 7 multiplied by 100 to get 700 centimeters. Then next we add, so we have 700 plus 30 centimeters. 700 plus 30 gives us 730 centimeters. So the result is 730 centimeters. So we are now moving on from addition to subtraction. The question is, use subtraction to find the difference between the measurements and give your answer in the units shown in brackets. So we are having the measurements given. The first one, we have 9 kilometers and 500 meters, and our answer is required in kilometers. So the same rule still applies for the subtraction as it is in the addition. So what we are simply saying is, before we go ahead and subtract, we are supposed to consider the units first so that all the units are the same. We are having the values in the same units. So in the values that we've been given, we have 9 kilometers and 500 meters. and our answer is required in kilometers. So that means I have to convert the meters to kilometers. So we are converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit. That means we divide. So 500 meters to kilometers will be 500 divided by 1000. 500 divided by 1000 gives us 0.5. So we have 0.5 kilometers. So we have 9 kilometers and 0.5 kilometers. We need to subtract so that we get the difference between the two measurements. So that gives us 9 kilometers, subtract 0.5 kilometers. So with that, we need to borrow 1 from 9, so that we are left with 8. And this makes our 0 10, so that we have 10 minus 5, which is 5. Then 8 minus 0 is 8. So that means 9 kilometers minus 0.5 kilometers gives us 8.5 kilometers. So the next one, we have 3.5 meters and 40 centimeters. We give our answer in centimeters, so that means we convert from meters to centimeters. That is done by multiplying by 100. So we have 3.5 times 100. So one of the 0 cancels out because of the decimal place. Then it means we have 35 times 10. So that it gives us 350 centimeters. Remember, we are subtracting. So that means we have 350 minus 40. And 350 minus 40 gives us 310 centimeters. So 3.5 meters minus 40 centimeters, that is 350 centimeters minus 40 centimeters, to give us 310. So we have 0.2 meters and 10 millimeters. We need to give our result in centimeters. So that means none of them is in centimeters. We need to convert the values that we've been given to centimeters first. So that means we have 0.2 meters converted to centimeter. That means we multiply by 100. So we have 0.2 times 100, which gives us 20. 10 millimeters converted to centimeters, it means we divide by 10. So that means 10 divided by 10 gives us 1. So we are converting, we are supposed to subtract, so that in our subtraction we have 20 minus 1, and 20 minus 1 gives us 19 centimeters. So the difference between 20 and 1 centimeter is 19 centimeters. So we have another question that is requiring us to arrange the measurements we've been given from the smallest to the largest. So in the measurements that we have, we need to first identify which measurement is the smallest, which one is the largest. Then go ahead and arrange whatever measurements we have. So the first one, so we have 38 centimeters, 540 millimeters, and 0.5 meters. We discover that they are all in different units. The first one is in centimeters, the second one is in millimeters, the third one is in meters. And discovering that they are in different units, then that makes our work a bit complicated. If I have to look at the figures that are here, then one can easily assume that 0.5 is the smallest. One can easily assume that 540 is the largest. But we discover that they're not in the same units. So that might not mean that it is necessarily true. So the first thing we need to do is convert whatever measurements we have to the same units that you prefer. We convert them first to the same units so that we can make a comparison when all the measurements that are here are in the same units. So we can decide and convert the measurements we have to centimeters, so that we are having 540 millimeters to centimeters will be 540 divided by 10, which gives us 54 centimeters. 0.5 millimeters, 0.5 meters to centimeters, we multiply by 100. So we have 0.5 times 100, which gives us 50 centimeters. So this means the units, the measurements we have here are 38 centimeters, we have 54 centimeters, then we have 50 centimeters. From there, it is now easier for us to make a comparison because they are all in the same unit. Then we can tell which one is the smallest, which one is the largest. Whatever the question requires us to do is to arrange from the smallest to the largest. So the smallest value, we have 38. The next value from 38, we have 50. Then the next value from 50, we have 54. So whatever we have, then it means if I have to arrange these units, these measurements that I have from the smallest to the largest, then it means the arrangement is 38 centimeters. 50 centimeters was representing 0.5 meters. So the next one is 0.5 meters. Then the largest, we are having 540 millimeters. So that is the arrangement from the smallest to the largest. So that is what we have. We have 0.02 kilometers, 25 meters, 160 centimeters, and we have 2,100 millimeters that we need to arrange from the smallest to the largest. So that's just like the previous sum that we've worked out. We cannot compare them when they are all in different units. The first task we have is converting them to the same unit. By the way, the conversion is to the unit that you prefer. You can convert either to kilometers, you can convert either to meters, you can convert to centimeters, or you can convert to millimeters. But we discover that if I decide to convert to kilometers, I'm going to have a lot of decimal places. So that when some students are working out with the decimal places, it becomes difficult for them to compare. So to make our work a bit easier, then let us convert to a unit that will give us whole numbers. In that, we can either convert to centimeters or millimeters. And we discover that if I convert these to millimeters, then it is going to give me a very large unit. We first said that conversion helps us to deal with moderate units, so that you don't have so big units and at the same time you don't have to deal with very small units. So we can prefer to convert to centimeters so that our units are moderate. So we are having 0.02 kilometers converted to centimeters. It means we multiply by 100,000. So 0.02 multiplied by 100,000. So 2 decimal places are gone, so that when we are multiplying by a power of 10 that is positive, then we move to the decimal place moves to the right. So the 2 are gone. We are left with 3. So that means this gives us 2,000 centimeters. 25 meters will be 25 times 100. So that we have 2,500 centimeters. This is 160 centimeter. And 2,100 millimeters, we'll have 2,100 divided by 10. So when we divide by 10, then we have 210 centimeters. So from there, we can now go ahead and compare which one is the smallest, which one is the largest. Remember, we are ranging from the smallest to the largest. So from the list we have, we discover that the smallest unit is 160 centimeters. It is followed by 210 centimeters. Then we have 2,000. And finally, we have 2,500 centimeters. So we've arranged them when they are in the same units. So let us now use the units that we had in our calculation. So arrangement from the smallest to the largest. Our smallest was 160 centimeter. It is followed by 210 centimeters. 210 centimeters is representing 2,100 millimeters. Then next we have 2,000 centimeters. The 2,000 centimeters was representing 0.02 kilometers. And finally we have 2,500 centimeters, which was represented by 25 meters. So this is our arrangement from the smallest to the largest. So in conclusion, whatever we are talking about when we are converting units from one unit of length to the other, then whatever you need to consider is when you are converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit, we divide. Then converting from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we multiply. Then another thing that we need to keep in mind, when we are multiplying a number by a power of 10 that is positive, then our decimal place moves to the right. But when you are multiplying a number by a power of 10 that is negative, then our decimal place moves to the left. So with that, I hope we can all be able to convert from one unit of length to the other. Thank you.